Alright, today we have HP's new Omen 16 and 16 Slim in the house. These are basically HP's mid-range gaming laptops, and we have spent way too much time testing them. I have no idea why this video took so long to make, but it just did. Anyway, you can think of these as HP's value for money gaming laptops. Both are very similar machines. They feature the same mid-range gaming GPUs, they have the same screen options, the same keyboard and trackpad, at least as far as we can tell, they have the same ports, and they're both priced around $1,000 to $1,500, at least here in the USA. The main difference between them is that the Omen 16 is thicker and a bit heavier. Look, I've had your time, so I'm just going to give you the verdict right now on these. Both of these laptops are great options if you're buying them on a big sale. I'd say around $900 to $1,200, that's US dollars, with one of the better displays. And we are going to get into the displays and all of that in this video. Now, above that price point, there are just better options available, specifically Lenovo's Legion 5i. What we've done is we've added recommended configurations of both these two laptops and that Legion 5i to our website, bestlaptop.deals. That way you can track their prices and hopefully catch one of those killer sales. Alright, let's get into the details. When comparing their CPUs, the Slim comes with a current generation Intel Arrow Lake H processor. The non-Slim, on the other hand, it uses a more powerful HX processor, either from Intel or AMD, but it's from a prior generation. This means the Slim CPU is more power efficient than the non-Slims. It draws a lot less power, and as you're going to see, it has much longer battery life. Let's talk about gaming, because that's probably why you're buying one of these laptops. Our Omen 16, it feeds its GPU the full 115 watts. That makes its 5060 actually perform on par with the Slim's 5070, as that laptop limits its GPU to only 90 watts. You can not only see this in Time Spy, but also Cyberpunk and Forza 2. One thing I would like to point out is that Lenovo's smaller Legion 5i often beats out the larger Omen 16, even though their GPUs are fed the same wattage. Both these actually average around the same power to the GPU in gaming, but the Legion 5i, it is paired with a current-gen Intel HX CPU. That is likely the difference here. When we switch to the Slim, it trades blows with our Aero X16. That has the same 5070, but actually feeds it 5 watts less. So what I'm trying to get across here is that these Omens are not the best performers for their GPUs at their respective power draws. Now, both these tests were run at 2560 by 1600. That way we could compare these laptops to other gaming ones which have that resolution as their screen's native displays. When we run these Omens at their native resolutions of 1920 by 1200, we do see a big boost. These laptops deliver very playable frame rates, often well in excess of 60 frames per second, with one exception. You may have heard of the 8GB of VRAM issue. These mid-range GPUs do not have enough memory for some demanding modern titles. You may think that these laptops' low resolution displays saves them from this issue, but they don't. You can see this clearly demonstrated in Monster Hunter Wilds. There is a big drop from average frames to 1% lows. This game is very memory intensive. But before you freak out and don't buy a laptop with one of these GPUs, if you turn down to high settings, not only do you get more frames, but that big drop in 1% lows is resolved. And speaking personally, I don't think a lot of people can tell the difference between ultra settings in games and high, at least I can't. Over on created tasks, these laptops performed where you would expect them to in Premiere Pro, but in DaVinci Resolve they didn't do so well. The Omen 16, it was once again outshone by the Legion 5i, and the Omen 16 Slim, it couldn't even run the test. I would guess that this is probably due to a software glitch though. Now, a big pro of both of these laptops are their thermals. Inside of them, their CPUs, they don't get overly hot, even when under a max load. While gaming, you are in for a treat. Both of these laptops, they do not feel hot to the touch, a little warm at most, and their fan noise, it is competitive. That's if you're running them on their performance modes. You don't get anything out of moving up to the Unleash mode other than a big increase of fan noise on the Slim. That mode, it increases the amount of wattage fed to the CPU on both of these laptops, but the power fed to the GPU, it is unchanged. And as you can see, it is unlikely to make a difference in gaming. One little note though, there are exhaust vents on the side of these laptops, so you may find that hot air blows on your mouse hand. This is an issue for me. I use my mouse close to the front of the laptop, but Taylor on our team, he hates it. Before we leave gaming and talk about the rest of the laptop, I do have to mention an issue that we noticed with the Slim. It comes with a small 150 watt charger. When gaming on its performance mode, the battery does drain. That's while plugged in. Now, it's not as bad as Acer's Nitro V16S. This laptop's charger is 15 watts larger than that one, and HP uses a more efficient CPU. HP though, they should have supplied a 165 watt charger with the Slim. They have built something though into their Omen software where you can limit the battery drain to 10%. That's why you see this kind of odd line on our graph. It's draining and charging. But stating the obvious, when you do this, it means the laptop's performance is throttled during gaming to allow the battery to recharge. Even though this isn't the worst battery drain we've seen, and it is fixable by using one of HP's larger chargers, I don't like this. Now, if you're wondering, this issue, it doesn't occur on the larger Omen. It comes with a much bigger charger. And while we're on the note of charging, if you want to power these laptops via a smaller USB-C charger, warning. The Slim, it performs fine, but the non-Slim model, it is throttled like crazy. Even using a high wattage charger, this just shouldn't happen, especially for CPU-only tasks like we are testing here. We've seen a couple of gaming laptops have this issue, and manufacturers like HP, they need to address it. In fact, HP really should be addressing both these issues. Alright, now some good news about the Slim. Battery life is absolutely outstanding, especially given its smaller battery. Some of this is due to this laptop having a lower resolution display. Many of the competitors in our graphs have higher resolution panels. They do require more power. Some of it though is due to this laptop having a less powerful and more power efficient Ultra 7 Arrow Lake H processor. But a lot of it is due to how HP runs this laptop when on its eco mode. You see, we test battery life on the best battery settings, in this case HP's eco mode. On that mode, HP throttles the CPU right down, so performance is pretty middling when unplugged. Obviously you can fix this by running on a higher mode, but you'll get less battery life. When it comes to the non-Slim, its battery life is pretty garbage. You may be wondering why, as it does have a 1920 by 1200 panel and it has the same size battery as the Slim. Well, when you look at how the non-Slim performs on that eco mode, it performs much better, but it does draw a lot more power. It can average almost 30 watts more. Now, if you want to know whether you can get these laptops full performance when they are unplugged, you can't. Their performance is throttled quite a bit. Alright, let's talk a bit more about the chassis. Both of these, they look slimmer than they are. Their chassis are heavily tapered, so you may be deceived. Don't be. These are big and heavy laptops. The 16 Slim, it really pushes the envelope of what you could call a slim and portable gaming machine. It is way bigger than something like a Zephyrus G16 or a Razer Blade 16. The Omen 16 non-Slim, it is even larger. It is around the size of Asus's bulky Strix G16. On such a thick laptop, you may find that the edge cuts into your wrist as your hands are raised quite a bit. In fact, check this out. The Omen 16 is actually larger than HP's more powerful Omen Max 16. That laptop's keyboard deck, it even slopes down further so it doesn't cut into your wrist as much. In terms of their build quality, they are solid and well constructed, especially for a laptop at this price point. Pretty much no keyboard deck flex at all. There is a bit of lid flex though. Displays. There are 3 panels available for both of these laptops. There are 2 matte 1920 by 1200 ones, the cheaper of which absolutely sucks. It has low brightness, poor color accuracy, and our unit had backlight bleed, and we even detected ghosting. Then there is a better 1920 by 1200 panel, brighter and more color accurate and no issues with ghosting or backlight bleed. Although this resolution of 1920, it is better for maximizing frames in games, it isn't ideal for people like programmers or Excel users. There just isn't enough pixels when they are spread across a large 16-inch panel. Guys, the clarity, it isn't there, and small text, it is going to look a little fuzzy. Now, there is a high-resolution 2560 by 1600 panel available, but at the time of this review, getting it, it puts this laptop in a different price bracket that it just doesn't deserve to be in. It brushes it up against the price of the Legion 7i, and that laptop is so much better. I'd assume that to keep the price of these laptops low, that's why there is no advanced Optimus, no G-Sync, no fingerprint reader, and no Windows Hello facial recognition. There is a mux switch, but you will have to restart the laptop to engage it. Let's talk about the keyboard. HP have cut back a bit with the keyboard in these laptops. It delivers a fine typing experience, but it's a shame that you don't get the premium feeling one that's in their Omen Max 16 or the Transcend 14. In comparison, the keyboard on these laptops, they don't have as satisfying a click as the keyboard on their more premium laptops have. Also, the keyboard in these cheaper Omens, they do have more light bleeding around the keys than shining through the key characters. This is a common issue that we've seen on many gaming laptops, and it can make it hard to find which key is which when you're looking at it from certain angles. The light around the sides of the key, it just blinds you. By the way, there are 2 keyboard backlight options available. One is a single zone and the other is a 4-zone RGB, so keep your eyes out for which one you're getting. Onto the trackpads. The mechanical trackpads on both these laptops, they seem the same. I was able to be accurate on them, although tracking it does have a little more resistance than I'd ideally like. But overall, they get the job done, they just aren't anything special. Ports on these laptops are identical, their variety, their speeds, and their placement. On the placement, it is good to see no issues like ports being placed super far down the laptop and potentially getting in your way. That is an issue on Lenovo or Gigabyte's gaming laptops. The biggest cons that I do see with the ports on these ones are that none of them are fast. There is no Thunderbolt, no USB 4, and no DisplayPort 2.1. Also, the only port that goes directly to the DGPU is the HDMI port on the back. Both of these laptops are upgradable. Yay! Memory, storage, and Wi-Fi. On the Wi-Fi, be careful, some of these come with Wi-Fi 6 and others come with Wi-Fi 6E, but as I said, it is upgradable. When it comes to the speakers, the Slim, it really surprised me. The quality was good, there was a little bit of bass, and the volume was certainly good enough. When it came to the non-Slim though, the quality was there, but the volume, it just wasn't enough for me. And if you're wondering what the webcam looks and sounds like on the Omen 16, well, here I am in excellent lighting conditions. And now I've turned off the studio lights and we're just using much dimmer house lights. So this is what the webcam looks and sounds like on the Omen 16 Slim using our good studio lights. And now here's how you're going to look if you're using dim overhead lights. We did test Linux on both of these laptops and good news, everything worked. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, speakers, webcam, brightness up and down, you guys get the point. Alright, let's round this up. Both of these laptops, they really shine if you're getting at least that middle tier display and you're paying $1,200 or less. When it comes to the Omen 16 Slim, it is a better gaming laptop than competitors like Gigabyte's gaming A16 and Acer's Nitro V16S. Both of those laptops, they do have gating issues, at least at this price point. But if you can find a Legion 5i at the same price as the Slim, I'd definitely get that instead. Yes, it does have a smaller 15.1-inch display, but it has a much higher quality OLED panel. It also has a more comfortable keyboard and feeds its GPU full power. Another laptop to consider is Gigabyte's Aero X16. This one gives you a high-resolution display for a similar price. When it comes to the Omen 16, this one, it is a really solid buy at the price I mentioned. It's definitely a good step up from budget gaming laptops like Lenovo's LOQ or HP's own Victus, yet it kinda offers more value than a lot of brands' value-for-money gaming laptops like Dell's Alienware 16X. That being said, I'd still get the Legion 5i over this one if it's at the same price. Overall, there is nothing special about either of these Omens, but if you can get one of them on a really good sale, you're going to be getting a lot of laptop for your money. In fact, guys, we are heading into the big holiday buying season. There's going to be a lot of great deals and you're going to want to catch a killer one. That is why we build our website bestlaptop.deals. Over there, you can track prices to ensure that a sale is really a good sale and not a bogus one. You can even set custom price drop notifications, so go check it out. Links to all the laptops that I recommended today, they will be down below this video. Until next time, go do something awesome with your day and I will catch you later.